Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Vanessa Mercado-Taylor here, professor for Introduction to Theater. We begin this class by examining the nature of theater. Oscar Wilde said, "I regard the theater as the greatest of all art forms, the most immediate way in which a human being can share with another the sense of what it is to be a human being." You may not know much about theater now, but by the end of this class, you will hopefully understand that it is one of the most dynamic ways to explore what it means to be human. Theater is storytelling. No matter how it's presented, what language, what location, theater is storytelling in its many incarnations. A need to tell and hear stories is essential to the species Homo sapiens. Second in necessity, apparently after nourishment and before love and shelter. Millions survive without love or home, almost none in silence. The opposite of silence leads quickly to narrative, and the sound of story is the dominant sound of our lives, from the small accounts of our day's events to the vast, incommunicable constructs of psychopaths. We can trace theater as far back as the beginning of human history, where storytelling served a vital function to our ancestors. They told stories about the past so that children would learn important lessons about hunting, building houses, how to fight, how to make clothing, etc., just by listening to the accounts of others. Stories pass down myths and legends from generation to generation. These myths explain origins, purpose, and the religious moral framework of their lives. The stories also established the relationship between people and their gods, and they gave people an identity, characteristics, and values. And even though we're no longer gathering around a fire to listen to our local storyteller, storytelling still serves many vital functions in society: entertainment, education, cultural preservation, instilling moral values. It does all this because what we see in stories, whether that's in television, film, comic books, video games, books, stories affect how we understand the world, and stories, which are repeated again and again in our society, become embedded in our cultural and our actions and our emotions. Let's look at some theatrical elements of storytelling. These are elements seen in modern theater which you would have seen in storytelling millions of years ago. Gestures, exaggeration. In modern times, this is called acting. Storytellers won't be monotone with a still body. Usually they will emphasize movements, use different voices, essentially act out the story. Music is used in storytelling to set a mood. Usually a storyteller would use props, items such as bows and arrows to tell the story of a hunt. They would also use dance or movement. By the time humankind had settled into villages and tribes, storytelling evolved into rituals and ceremonies and were considered vital to the well-being of the community. From rituals and ceremonies, storytelling evolved into theatrical or dramatic productions, events of storytelling that were not tied to any other purpose other than just the storytelling itself. The earliest report of a dramatic production is in 2000 BC in Egypt. Its principal purpose was to keep vivid in the minds of the faithful the sufferings and triumph of a god. This particular production told the story of Osiris. During its existence, theater has been highly developed and highly prized. In ancient Greece, it was performed for the entire community at religious festivals, financed by the state and wealthy citizens. At other times, it has been forbidden, censored, or outlawed. Puritans forbade performances in England between 1642 and 1660 because it was morally unacceptable. I know it might not seem like it to you right now, but by the end of the semester, you'll be able to comprehend how immensely tied to theater we are as human beings, because theater helps us examine what it means to be human. It holds a mirror up to society. It is a reflection of time and place. Plays can allow us to see the beliefs, morals, and behaviors of particular societies, including our own. Theater challenges the status quo. Status quo means the current state of affairs. To maintain the status quo is to keep things the way they presently are. Theater questions our purpose in the world and promotes freedom of thought and freedom of creation, which throughout history has been tied with democracy, equality, and education. Differing approaches. Some people see theater as entertainment. Others believe it serves an important social and political function. Theater can be something that looks like this. That was a performance that my company did in New York City in 2010, and if you notice, we're not inside of a theater building. There was a series of semi-trailers that were organized in an alleyway, and each trailer was given to a different theater company. So the audience would move in and out of these trailers, having different experiences. So it can be something that looks like this, or this, or this. This is probably more of what you had in mind when you thought of theater. I want you to get this image out of your head, as most theater around the world does not look like this. Don't picture old costumes, an old set, and a story written 200 years ago. Because theater can also be very exciting, such as this production done on a flooded stage which combined dance and theater. Theater can also look like this, abstract and representational. Theater is not easy to define. Let's look at the basic elements of theater. What is performed? This is the play or script which the artists create from. The performance itself, which is what the audience actually experiences and sees. And third is the audience. An audience affects a performance. It provides immediate feedback. There is a communal experience in addition to the performance. They make their support felt through attendance. A theater performance is a communicative expression which is incomplete until an audience receives or experiences it. Theater doesn't just happen in theaters, believe it or not. It can be on a street, subway, park, hotel, cave, anywhere. This is an image from the catacombs under the London Bridge, where I saw a performance in the hallways and rooms which had been converted by a group of artists. Here is an image from a performance of Alice in Wonderland created by a group of high school students. They performed not only in the subway but also in the subway stations as they moved throughout the city with the audience following behind. Performances require the creative efforts and cooperation of many people. Theater helps us understand and interpret ourselves and the world around us. It can bring order to what seems to be a chaotic universe. Religion and philosophy can help us explain why events occur. Science can help explain how events occur. And art can fine-tune our understanding by expressing events in human terms. This concludes our first lesson. Review anything that seems confusing and make sure that you took good notes. Have a good day.